Hello, welcome to Just the Dis. My name is Brian, and we talk about Blu-rays here. And for this little episode, I'm talking about some new additions to the collection, kind of a what I've been watching sort of thing. And I'm trying to make these a little smaller so they're not, 30 minutes long. I don't know if you guys like 30-minute videos, but I assume most people click out after about 10, maybe max. So this won't be 10 minutes, but it'll be less than 30. So anyway, I'm trying to pepper in some spooky stuff for October. I'm not going to do a 31 days of October or whatever. I'm just not into that. I can't commit, folks. I'm sorry. But I am trying to bring in some spooky stuff when I can, when it's new and I've gotten it. Why not? So let's kick this one off with some new stuff I've gotten recently. This is a big one. Alone in the Dark. This is a Scream Factory Collector's Edition. Director Jack Shoulder, who also did a lot of fun stuff, including The Hidden, which I'm a big fan of, which is highly recommended for October. There's a great Warner Archive Blu-ray of that you can check out. He also did Nightmare on Elm Street 2. He did a movie called 1201 that I love, which is kind of a Back to the Future, Groundhog Day, but serious kind of time bounce movie. Anyway, he's a fun director. I like him a lot. And this is, I want to say his debut film, or one of the early films. And it's a slasher. It's a hospital slasher, kind of. It's about a mental institution where there's sort of like a high-tech security system, and the power goes out, and some folks get loose, and some slashing happens. But it's a really enjoyable and sort of a cult slasher. Like, I know a lot of people were really wanting a Blu-ray for this, and so it's been a long time coming. And it's got a really neat cast. It's got Jack Palance. It has Martin Landau, who would actually become kind of a fixture in Jack Shoulder's films. He used him in 1201 and I feel like a couple others. And, of course, Donald Pleasance is in this, as well as Dwight Schultz from the A-Team. There's more folks that you'll recognize here. This guy, he plays, I want to say his character's like Fatty or something in the middle there. He is in The Wanderers. He's the head of the Fortinbaldis. But he's got hair in this, and so it's weird. But so it's a really neat cast, and it's a well-done, slightly not run-of-the-mill slasher, I don't think, because it just has an interesting opening that, connects to the movie, but in sort of a unique way. And I just like this older cast. You see that a lot in slasher movies where they're bringing, older actors that are not maybe in their prime anymore, and so they're taking some horror gigs, and I've always been a fan of that tradition. But yeah, this one's a really solid one, and it's a really nice collector's edition. I'll take it out of the slipcase here. I flipped the artwork. This is the traditional artwork on the front here, and it is a new 2K scan from the Inner Positive, and it looks very good. Obviously, the best I've ever seen the movie look. There is a new interview with Jack Shoulder. And I want to say that's about 34 minutes, and that is a very cool interview. It's him talking about, his early history as a filmmaker and sort of leading up into this movie, and then he goes through, not my favorite approach necessarily, but he goes through basically the whole cast. What was it like to work with Jack Palance? What was it like to work with Donald Pleasance? And he has good stories about all of them. So it's, Jack Shoulder makes that interview format work, and he does a nice job, and he's just an interesting dude. I like him. You also get an entire commentary with him, which I feel like might have been on an older DVD. I'm not sure if that's new or not, but then you have a new interview with actress Carol Levy, an interview with the underground punk favorites Sick, FUCKs, and I feel like there's a couple interviews with them looking back and sort of remembering. I forget, but there's at least 2 interviews with them. But between the Jack Shoulder interview and the commentary, I was very satisfied with what this had to offer. And the transfer looks good. So this is a good little. I mean, I don't want to say it's obscure, but I think it's a slasher that, because of its lack of availability, has kind of dropped off some people's radars, and so now is the time to be checking it out in October. It had a slight delay, I think, getting out, but now it should be fully available, and you should be able to get a copy, and I highly recommend it. A great release from Scream Factory. Okay. I'm a little conflicted about this next couple because I'm not going to get into it, but I'm not a huge fan of Disney Movie Club. I had a bad experience with them, and it just really soured me on them. But even previous to that, I was just not really thrilled with their treatment of their catalog titles. I just felt like they feel like were sort of shoved on disc, and we're not necessarily getting new transfers. We're not getting any extras on just about any, except for actually, strangely, one of the ones I'm going to talk about here, on the Disney Movie Club exclusive Blu-rays. And because I'm not a part of Disney Movie Club anymore, and I'm not going to be, I had to buy these a little more expensively on eBay, but I had to get them because they're two classics, and they're perfect again for October. And so I sucked it up and I got them. And I'll start with this one, Something Wicked This Way Comes, Ray Bradbury's. And this is definitely one of the darkest movies that Disney ever produced, and it is great. PG rated, but be very careful with that because it's got some kinder trauma moments in the waiting for you, for sure. But I'll just read the back here. One of Ray Bradbury's most popular and intriguing novels of good and evil comes to life in this spine-tingling motion picture. On a grim, gusty October day in Greentown, Illinois, two young boys encounter a distressed man who foretells of danger blowing their way. Soon after, the town is visited by a seductive stranger named Mr. Dark and his pandemonium carnival. You gotta love movies with carnivals, That's always perfect for October, but really perfect for any time of the year. Terrifying things begin to happen when the adventurous boys stumble onto the carnival's deadly and destructive secret. Beware, something wicked this way comes, and frightening surprises follow. So this has a really good cast. Jason Robards, Jonathan Pryce, Diane Ladd, Pam Grier, score by James Horner, and just a great vibe, just a great atmosphere. Directed by Jack Clayton, who I don't know quite that well, but this is certainly one of the movies that he did that I'm most impressed with. And as I said, the transfer is not sparkling. You can see scratches on the film that they're using, the print that they're using for the transfer right out of the gate. But that said, the last time I saw this was on the, I think, old Anchor Bay DVD, which wasn't even 16 by 9, meaning it wouldn't even fill a widescreen television. That was how long ago that came out, if I recall. At least the one that I had. Maybe they updated it and did have a 16 by 9 version, but I don't think so. So at some point, a transfer was done, and I don't know if we're going to get... I don't know if we're going to get another version of this, is what I'm saying. I can only think of one instance where a Disney Movie Club Blu-ray got another release. And in that case, it also came out with this group and its Flight of the Navigator. And that came out previous to the Disney Movie Club Blu-ray release. So I think anything, and I'm sure somebody can correct me in the comments, but I think just about anything that's come out on Disney Movie Club exclusive Blu-ray has not come out after that via another label, at least not at this point. So usually the buck stops with the Disney Movie Club exclusive Blu-ray. I guess they're really just hardline about making them exclusives, which I respect. But so I don't know that this one is going to get another release. So I would recommend going to eBay and trying to get yourself a copy. Maybe it'll pop up on Amazon. Sometimes these do. They are a little bit more expensive, but if you like this film, you really should grab it because this transfer looks pretty good. It's not great. Again, there's sort of little scratches on and off throughout the film, but the color and the detail looks much better than the DVD as far as I'm concerned. And anyway, it's just sort of a classic that had been lost for all intents and purposes for a long time because of a lack of availability. So I'm glad this is finally out. And the other one I had to grab is another of the sort of darkest Disney movies ever produced, The Watcher in the Woods. And I am a big fan of this one as well. It is starring Bette Davis, Lynn Holly Johnson, David McCallum, Carol Baker, Kyle Richards, and it says legendary actress and 2-time Academy Award winner Bette Davis stars in this frightening and atmospheric thriller. When an American teenager joins her family in an English country house, she experiences strange and supernatural occurrences. Miss Aylwood, Bette Davis, the kindly caretaker, knows the dark secret behind the happenings and prepares for the return of a young girl who died mysteriously some 30 years earlier. The Watcher in the Woods weaves a haunting, riveting tale that stays with you long after the explosive ending. Speaking of which, this is one of the rare Disney Movie Club Blu-rays that has some extras. It has 2 alternate endings and an alternate opening, and all of them are creepy, and all of them sort of shed some light on the film that could have been, or at least, I don't know, I like watching the alternates because there's some stuff in there that's just like, wow, I wish they had kept this in, because it's kind of crazy, and I can see maybe the special effects weren't quite what they wanted them to be, but I really do dig the ending, and I just dig the atmosphere of this movie. It's just a sort of it's not really, kind of a slow burn, creepy, haunted house and haunted, woods movie, and it just plays out really well. And I think Lynn Holly Johnson's acting maybe takes a little getting used to sometimes, but I'm a fan of hers, and I dig it, and Bette Davis is perfect in this. So another one where the transfer is not shimmering, but it looks pretty good, and I'll take it. And so I just had to have this one, as it was like a childhood favorite, and I think I discovered it when I saw the they used to do these Disney trailer, like a group of trailers. It was like Disney home video, and it would be at the end of the movie, and there'd just be a flash of like Condor Man and just Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, but they wouldn't always say the name of the movie, so you'd see a clip, and I saw this clip of this girl looking in a mirror, and she sees a girl in the mirror who's got a blindfold on, and then the mirror cracks, and I was like, what is that movie? That's creepy looking. And finally figured it out after a while, because then they flash all the titles at the end like real fast. And I kind of had to retro go like, okay, that was Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. That was, okay, that must be Watcher in the Woods. And so, yeah, this one is another one that, neither Something Wicked This Way Comes or Watcher in the Woods are on Disney Plus as far as I know. And I think maybe they're just a little too scary. Maybe they're a little afraid of them. But at least we have Blu-rays now. So, again, go to eBay and grab them, or somewhere you're not supporting. Anyway, this is interesting. This is brand new, or relatively new. This is Night of the Animated Dead, and it's from this year, and it is basically a newly animated version of the original George A. Romero classic, Night of the Living Dead. And you can kind of get a sense of the animation on the back here. It's not necessarily my favorite style of animation, this new style. But what's interesting is that they are using, I think, basically all of the original dialogue and characters from the original film. Now, I want to say the original film was like an hour and 35 minutes, and this is 71 minutes. So they're definitely losing something. But like if you watch the opening scene, it's not quite word for word, but it's mostly line for line. Like this, there's like, "We're coming to get you, they're coming to get you, Barbara," and the brother and sister going to visit the graveyard, and it just kind of goes from there. And so it's like revoiced, obviously. So it feels a little bit like a script read of the movie, like a new audio version of it with this animation. But I do think it's really interesting to do it this way. It's something I might show my daughter. It's definitely still got gore and scares, and like I said, it's really more than faithful to the original. So I was really intrigued. I was sent this, and I had just seen this pop up on VOD, and I was like, what is that? That looks interesting to me. So I do recommend it. It's definitely worth a watch. If you're a fan of the original film, or if you want to see sort of a new take on it. I don't know. It was interesting to just watch scenes that I was familiar with play out in this animated version, and where I was like, I know these lines, but it just feels different because of the animation, and I don't know. I dug it. I definitely do recommend it. It doesn't have much in the way of features except a making of that you can check out. But this is from Warner Brothers, and yeah, it's cool. Cool stuff. Night of the Animated Dead. And then carrying on with some animation, I'm really glad I picked this up. The Woody Woodpecker Screwball Collection. This is from Universal. And, this is on par with, like, the Tex Avery sets that Warner Archive has put out. It's a really nice compilation. It includes 25 cartoons, as you can see there. Woody Woodpecker, The Screwdriver, Pantry Panic, Hollywood Matador, Ace in the Hole, The Lone Stranger, Screwball, etc., etc. And they look really good. These are mostly, I want to say a lot of them are from the 40s, but it kind of progresses up into the 50s and maybe the 60s. I'm not sure about the last couple, the years on the last couple, but a lot of them are Technicolor cartoons, and the transfers look really nice, and the colors really pop, and it was just really neat to sort of fall in love with this character again. I mean, I'm a big Bugs Bunny guy, but Woody Woodpecker is a similarly anarchic and kind of, I don't know, he's just sort of out of control in the same kind of loudmouth way that Bugs Bunny can be. And so he's just kind of fun to hang out with, so this is a really nice set. It's just, it looks good, and it actually has some decent extras. You've got Bird Gone Wild, which is like a brand new featurette. I want to say that's about 14 minutes. And they talk to like Jerry Beck, and they talk to the people behind like the more recent Woody Woodpecker movies. I think they're obviously trying to promote that stuff, which is fine. I want to check that stuff out. But so they go behind the scenes on some of the voiceover work of some of the more recent Woody stuff, but they're also talking about it in retrospect, kind of. So that's cool. Then you have a bunch of like vintage like featurette type things. So you have Walter, Woody, and the World of Animation, and that deals with the producer, Walter Lantz, and he is in like Walt Disney. He's in like all of these. You can kind of see the titles of all these: creating the stories, animating Woody, development of Woody, creating Woody Woodpecker, photographing animation cells, the inking department, the painting department, sound effects. So the first one is a longer one that's about 15 minutes or 14 minutes, and then they start to become like 3-4 minute little shorts talking about steps in the process of animation. And it's pretty cool. It's like an education. Like, I'm sure you maybe seen something in a Looney Tunes box set about that stuff, but I always like to see the process of animation, understanding it. And it's vintage stuff, so it's kind of cool because it's Walter Lantz in every one of them, but a really nice set if you're into the cartoon stuff. And I know I talk about cartoons on this channel a lot because I'm a big fan, but that one's recommended. This is a relatively new release from Kino, The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper, starring, as you can see, Robert Duvall and Treat Williams. D.B. Cooper, of course, one of the legendary, famous air hijackers, a real guy who has come to be known as D.B. Cooper. In 1971, actually successfully hijacked a plane, a Pacific Airlines plane, and was able to get the airline to pay him $200,000, which I guess is about 1.2 million updated to today, and 4 parachutes to then land the plane, let the hostages off, and take off again. And then supposedly he was trying to get to Mexico or something, and he ended up jumping out of the back of the plane, out of the sort of steps area. It was one of those planes that had the back steps, and the real guy disappeared into the woods. There's no known whereabouts, and nobody knows if he actually survived that jump or what happened. He just vanished. And so it's a really cool mystery. This movie takes huge dramatic license with that story and basically starts with DB jumping out of the airplane. DB is played by Treat Williams. And then it goes into this crazy story about what he had set up. And there's a little bit of suspension of disbelief in terms of all the things that he set up for himself, like drop cars and, just things that he left for himself in the woods. And a lot of it's predicated on him being able to drop himself in the woods in this specific spot. But if you let all that go, it becomes a really fun story of a chase, because Robert Duvall plays this guy who works for the insurance company that paid the $200,000 for the airline, and he wants the money back. And I'm not going to go into the relationship of him and Cooper, but there is one. And so he is on the hunt and is close to getting him. Another great thing about the movie is that DB's wife, I think, is played by the great Katherine Harold, who's one of my favorite actors. Just lovely and always shows up and gives a great performance. And this is actually a good-sized role for her. So I love that, and I just love having her in a movie. And she and Treat are great together. And also in here is the Paul Gleason, who plays the guy from the Breakfast Club, the teacher administrator from the Breakfast Club, and he's in Die Hard, and he's another guy that's looking for DB Cooper. And so they're just sort of chasing him and trying to catch him with the money. And that's sort of the movie. And it gets kind of fun. There's like some fun chase moments, like planes chasing cars, and just it gets goofy and crazy. But it's a very light movie, mostly comedic. This has a really nice commentary track from the screenwriter Jeffrey Allen Fiskin with film historian Daniel Kramer. And they go into sort of the details about the production of the film, which started with one director and changed. And he talks about, his script and what he was trying to do. And it's cool to have him there to sort of guide you through. And he's pretty low key about everything, so he's not precious about it or anything. But I really dug that track. That's a nice track, and it looks good. It's a Universal release, and it hasn't had a Blu-ray previous to this, so a nice Kino Blu-ray of a relatively obscure Treat Williams film based on a real personage. So I enjoyed that. And then last, I have something not on Blu-ray. This one is a recommendation from my friend Michael Ferrari, who runs Cinema du Meep and the Retro Movie Love podcast. This is directed by John Daigan. It's Australian. It's called One Night Stand, as you can see. And it is a, apocalypse movie. It's a Last Night on Earth kind of movie. It takes place in, I guess, Sydney, Australia, because the Opera House is sort of one of the locations. And we are sort of following these young people, two gals mostly, and a couple dudes. And we sort of get to know them a little bit. They're kind of hanging out, meeting each other. And then sort of news comes down that some nuclear attack has happened in Germany, and that there's potential for more to hit Australia, apparently some has hit New York. And so it's then these kids sort of getting emotional, but also hanging out and trying to sort out their feelings about this whole situation as they're sort of listening to the news on the radio. They're hanging out in this theater because the girls work there, and they get the news that something bad's happening, and so they don't want to leave the theater. And so it's just sort of getting to know these kids, and they have these flashbacks going where they're remembering things in their lives, and it's interesting. It's an interesting character study, and I'm glad I saw it because I like, Last Night on Earth or End of the World kind of movies. I'm not really familiar with this cast, anybody in it, ultimately, but it was neat to see this one. This is obviously an Umbrella Entertainment DVD. It says all region, but it is a PAL format DVD, so I couldn't just play this on my regular player. I had to use my multi-region player to get this to play okay. So keep that in mind if you order this. I got this straight off of Amazon. But it is a pretty rare movie. And if you're into sort of, movies on the edge of the apocalypse, it's worth a look, definitely. So I appreciate Cinema Demeep's recommendation of this one, and I'll try and keep the not on Blu-ray train rolling with these little videos. Anyway, I've already talked way too long on this stuff. Sorry for going so long. Thank you guys if you stuck with this. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you more soon. I'm just going to shut up now. Enjoy yourselves. Bye-bye.